Are you interested in some spicy new deck tech? Well, here's your host, Capital G!
And peoples of the world, finally back with a new deck for you, one of my own design, and that's Hazezon, Shaper of Sand. Not his first appearance in the game or on my channel for that matter, but definitely a new take on an old favorite. Before we dive into that, of course, look for me on Discord, TikTok. Also like and subscribe if you enjoy what we do here on the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. The higher those numbers get, the better. And yeah, just as simple as that. Let's dive into the deck. So, Hazon, Shaper of Sand is one of the Legends Revisited. So we've got white, green, and red for this 3/3 human warrior with Desert Walk. We may play desert lands from our graveyard, which is pretty cool. And whenever a desert enters the battlefield under our control, we get to create two sand warriors that are red, white, and green. So yeah, I say not the first appearance of the game. This is the OG version, and I did a deck tech for the original version when I was doing my Dune trilogy of decks. For having him represent House Atreides. We're not bound by the theme this time out, so I'm just going to focus on the mechanics of running desert lands. There's I think 16 or 17 that we can run. I've got a whole bunch of them in here, of course. I'm not too worried about the desert walk thing. It's not really going to be Hazon that's attacking. It's going to be our sand warriors. Such is the concept here. So, since the lands are the most important thing, we're going to have a look at them. I've got 36. So I'm running the Karoo bounce lands, as it were, just to be able to get those deserts back to our hand and replay them. Command Tower, Cradle of the Accursed, one of the many deserts. A lot of the deserts have abilities that we can sack them off to do things. So for example, this we can sack off to create a zombie. There's the OG, which is a nice little combat trick. Desert of the Fervent. Each color has a desert that can be cycled, which is pretty nice. So we can draw the card and still make our land drop. Desert of the Indomitable and Desert of the True, all here. Dunes of the Dead says when this is put into a graveyard, we get a zombie. Pretty sweet. Endless Sands lets us exile a creature we control, and then we later on pay 4, tap this, and sack this to bring each creature card exile of Endless Sands back onto the battlefield. Field of the Dead. No, it's not a desert, but it fits the theme pretty nicely. Got 3 forests, I'm not running a lot of basics, just 3 of each: forest, mountain, and plains. Briarreach Sanitarium, which is a good way to put a desert from our hand into the graveyard, draw a card, and play that desert. Yes, everyone gets to discard then drop, that's fine. Grasping Dunes. Gruul Turf, another bounce land. Hash Heap Oasis. In each color there is a desert that has, tap for colorless, tap, pay a life for the color of mana, or we can pay the special activation and sacrifice a desert. It can be itself or another desert for an ability. In the case of Hash Hep Oasis, it's +3/+3 until end of turn to any creature. Hostile Desert. Jetmir's Garden, not a desert, but why not? We may as well run it. 3 mountains, a Painted Bluffs, 3 plains, as I've mentioned, Quicksand. Radiant Grove. These are new. These are the new actual sort of tapped dual lands coming in from Dominaria United. We've got all 10 combinations at common, so unlike the shock lands, we can't just pay the 2 life to have them come into play untapped, but they still count towards our basic land types. They're not necessary in this deck per se, I just kind of put them in to showcase them because I think it's cool that we have this. Ramunap Ruins. This was the bane of Standard for a while, got banned out of Standard. Sacrifice a desert, deal 2 damage to each opponent, pretty good stuff. Sacred Peaks, another one of those tapped dual lands. Scavenger Grounds. So this, of course, we have to be careful. Exile all cards from all graveyards. Obviously, the point of our deck is to play deserts from our graveyard if we can. but I mean, sometimes we just need those graveyards gone. So we could sacrifice a desert we don't really care about at that point. So Celestial Sanctuary, Shefet Dunes, Dunes in fact, Shefet Dunes. Sunscorched Desert, Survivor's Encampment, the Wooded Ridgeline, and that gives us a total of 36 lands. Let's go through our artifact package. You notice that some of our deserts and our Kuru lands, what have you, we have a lot of lands that come into play tapped, so I do strongly recommend the Amulet of Vigor. Bit of a big money modern card, but totally worth it here. Arcane Signet, Black Blade Reforged, because the whole point of the deck is to play lands, and we're going to have things that let us play extra lands in the deck. So, Burrow Signet, Commander Sphere, Expedition Map. Lets us go get any land put into our hand, which is pretty handy. The Groll Signet, Hammer of Perforos. I like this here especially, being able to have haste and being able to have this activation. We can just sack off a land, get our golem, and then replay that land using our commander. Heraldic Banner. When it enters the battlefield, choose a color. Creatures we control the chosen color get +1/+0, and this taps by mana of the chosen color. 3 mana rock, generally not required in a deck with green in it. I'm running it for the Anthem effect as well as the ramp. And the fact is, no matter what color we choose, our Sand Warriors are all colors, or all 3 of our colors. Horn of Greed. Whenever a player plays land, that player draws a card. A little on the group huggy side here. I've seen a lot of people misplay this, so I better explain. When it says whenever a player plays land, that's your land drop for the turn. If you have things that say you may play an extra land this turn, that counts as well. But anything that says put a land into play will not trigger Horn of Greed, so be careful on that when you run this card. But we are going to be playing a bunch of cards that let us play extra lands. Emphasis on play extra lands, so we'll take a lot more advantage of this than most of our opponents will. Selesnya Signet, Soul Ring. The reason I'm running so many of the 2 mana rocks is because of Soul Ring. Being able to power that out is pretty cool. Stronic Resonator. Let's copy the landfall trigger on our commander, shall we? Or Desert Fall. Let's call it Desert Fall trigger. But yeah, let's get more tokens using the Stronic Resonator. The talismans are here. All 3 that fit. Throne of the God Pharaoh says at the beginning of our end step, each opponent loses life equal to the number of tapped creatures we control. Well, we're going to swing out, and then we're going to do even more damage after, such as the plan. And Zurin Orb. Awesome little Cheerio this is. Drop this for 0. It says sack land, we gain 2 life. This ensures that we can always sack off our deserts and replay them from our graveyard with our commander. So, great add here, I think. Creatures, of course, Azusa Lost But Seeking. As I said, we want to play additional lands. This lets us play 2 additional lands. I'm running the Lieges. Again, our tokens are all 3 colors, so by running the Lieges, this is double anthems as well as any other relevant triggers. So that was Balefire Liege and Vortusk Liege. Gilded Ceradon. 5 mana 4/4 doesn't seem like somewhere we want to be, but whenever we attack, if we control a desert, target creature cannot block this turn. Yes, please. Grim Gully. Our Sand Warriors are not human, so while this will not give our commander a +1/+1 counter, he is human. The tokens are not. Those are going to come into play bigger and badder. Jetmir, hiding this one in the 99 as a finisher. It's basically a 4 mana overrun, especially if we're getting a couple of tokens every turn. We'll be able to build up to that magic number of 9 very, very quickly. Knight of New Alara. Looks like this was reprinted fairly recently, which is good to see. In fact, I think it's getting reprinted in the precons. Each other multicolored creature you control gets +1/+1 for each of its colors. This is a +3/+3 anthem for our Sand Warriors. Mina and Den Wildborn. Hey, it's an activated ability that lets us put a land back from play into our hand. Ramunap Hydra. It gets +1/+1 if you have a desert on the battlefield. It gets +1/+1 if there's a desert in our graveyard, and it's got a bunch of keywords. Sand Strangler. If this enters the battlefield, if we control a desert or there is a desert in our graveyard, we can deal 3 damage to target creature. So a little bit of board presence, a little bit of removal, sure thing. Chef Hit Monitor, it's a 6-5. We're not going to be playing it as a 6-5 unless we really, really need that 6-5. What we want to do is cycle this and go get a desert and put it onto the battlefield. What's nice about this is that when you cycle it, you go get your desert and then you draw your card. So you actually get 4 mana and 2 cards, 1 on the battlefield, 1 in hand. Silverback Elder, this is going to be a big deal in our format, coming from Dominaria United. Triple green and 2 for this 5/7 ape. Whenever we cast a creature spell, choose one. Destroy an artifact or enchantment. Look at the top 5 cards of our library and we may put a land from among them onto the battlefield tapped. Or we gain 4 life. Modes 1 and 2 are very, very relevant here. And there are decks that will really, really appreciate having that 3rd mode as well. Sprouting Goblin, this is one I like. 2 mana 2/2, gotta kick her up green. If this was kicked, we get to search our library for a land with a basic land type, reveal it, and put it into our hand. This includes the new tapped dual lands, by the way. And once this is in play and it's no longer sick, we can pay red, tap this, sack a land, draw a card. That is amazing here. That's exactly what we want to be doing. Sylvan Safekeeper, sack a land, give something Shroud. Long time staple in our format. Tiller Engine. Helping back up our Amulet of Vigor is this Commander Precon card. 2 mana artifact, 1/3. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, we can untap that land or tap target non-land permanent that opponent controls. So we're playing extra lands, we're playing deserts, some of them come to play tapped, we want them untapped and ready to go. Wall of the Forgotten Pharaoh is a good blocker for us, can also do some incidental damage. And the Wilt Leaf Liege, again for that double anthem for our tokens. Moving on to Enchantments. Azusa's Many Journeys. Fun little saga that we've got going on here. For 2 mana, we may play an additional land this turn. Chapter 2 gains us some life, and Chapter 3 gives us Likeness of the Seeker. Whenever this becomes blocked, untap up to 3 lands we control. And I've seen this do some work in a couple of games. So I know this is a pretty decent card. A little slow, but pretty decent. But Chapter 1 is why we're running the card. Being able to play that extra land. Speaking of playing extra lands, Burgeoning. Whenever an opponent plays a land, we may put a land card from our hand onto the battlefield. Remember, this does not count as playing a land, so if we put a land in through Burgeoning, it will not trigger our Horn of Greed. It's still putting lands into play. It will trigger our commander, however, so that's kind of why we run it. Desert's Hold. Just here for the theming. It's not necessarily the best version of this effect, but it's here for the theme. 3 mana enchantment creature, and when this enters the battlefield, if we control a desert, we gain 3 life. An enchanted creature cannot attack or block, and its activated abilities may not be activated. Druid class. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, we gain a life. But by paying the additional 3 and going to level 2 on this class enchantment, we could play additional lands on each of our turns. Yes, please. Level 3, in fact, is a nice little backdoor trick. We can dump 5 mana into it, turn one of our creatures, lands into a big old creature, and swing with it. Exploration. This does let us play additional lands on each of our turns, so yes, please. And it doesn't care if it's coming from our hand or not, by the way. When it says play an additional land, it doesn't care where we're playing it from. Felidar Retreat, one of my favorite landfall cards from Zendikar Rising. Whenever a land enters the battlefield, we get a cat. Or we can put a +1/+1 counter on each of our creatures and grant them vigilance. Both fantastic modes. In the Web of War, whenever a creature comes into play, it gets 2/0 and haste, so swing in with some bigger, hastier Sand Warriors. Yes, please. Inspiring Leader. This deck wants its commander out in play, and we want to make our tokens as big as possible. This helps. Paladin class. For 1, spells your opponent's cast during your turn cost 1 more, so it really slows down, say, counter spells or instant speed removal cast on our turn. Perfect. Level 2 gives us an Anthem. So for 4 mana, we've got an Anthem and a little bit of defense for the spells that we cast. And level 3 is whenever we attack, target creature Gets +1/+1 for each other attacking creature and gains double strike. We're going wide. So we're going to be swinging of like 6, 8, 10 sand tokens. One of them is getting a real buff. Tectonic Reformation is our last enchantment. Each land card in our hand has cycling red. So if we've got a desert in our hand, we can pay a red, pitch it to draw a card, and still make the land drop. Over to instants and sorceries. So we're running green, so Beast Within. Some defensive spells with Blacksmith Skill. Brave the Elements as choose a color. White creatures we control gain protection from the chosen color until end of turn. We do run a lot of white creature tokens, and that includes our Sand Warriors, that includes our cats from the Felidar Retreat. So, 1 white, someone tries to Blasphemous Act, we has an answer. Generous Gift, destroy target permanent, same as Beast Within, so whatever we want gone is gone. Nature's Chant, just throwing this one in here for fun. It's just a disenchant, but you can spend either red or white to cast it. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Secure the Wastes. Just a little backdoor way of spitting out an army if we need to. And Tamiyo's Safekeeping. Over to Sorceries with Cathartic Reunion. Pitch 2, draw 3. Cultivate. Explore lets us draw a card and play an additional land. Farseek lets us go get a Plains, Island, Swamp, or Mountain. That includes our new tapped common duels, by the way. Our Promise, one of the few decks where this card is really the Desert text specifically on this card is really relevant. For 5, we go get up to 2 land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, and then if we control 3 or more deserts, we create 2 zombies. So for 5 mana, we're getting our deserts and we're getting our zombies. Yes, please. Hurricane, deal X damage to each creature with flying in each player. We don't have a lot of defense against flying. This is it. This will shoot down all of the flyers. And it might even shoot down our opponents too if we've knocked their life low enough. Inspired Tinkering. I thought this was a great card draw spell from Baldur's Gate. Red and 4 for the sorcery says we get to exile top 3 cards of our library. Until the end of our next turn we can play those cards. Sweet. Also, we create 3 treasure tokens. So we actually get the opportunity to use some of these cards right away if we need to. Mass Calcify, destroy all non-white creatures. Again, our Sand Warriors, our Commander, our Cats, they're white creatures. They're going to survive the Mass Calcify. Pretty nasty stuff here. Nature's Lore lets us go get a forest card. Sylvan's Grind lets us tutor out for any land, put it into our hand. And of course, 3 visits for any forest card that can come onto the battlefield. No walkers in this particular build, we don't need to. And that is Hazezon, Shaper of Sand, or Hazezon, Shaper of Sand. I usually like to say Hazezon, but some people say Hazezon. Either way, no matter how you pronounce it, it's going to be a fantastic commander. One that we're not going to see a lot of because it being one of the Legends Revisited cards, they're only available as one of 20 possible box toppers. Or if you pick up collector boosters, you might find one in there as well. So we won't see too much of him, I don't think. But I'll be happy to see him, because this is a cool commander. And on that, I'm going to get going here. Got to leave you links for a couple more videos over here, and the link for my channel up here. And we will see you all again next time. I am back to building some decks for a while. I'm going to try to get anywhere between 3 and 5 decks for Dominaria. And yeah, we'll catch you again next time. Bye for now.